Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her monitor in disbelief, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. The pattern she'd been tracking for the past 3 weeks wasn't a glitch or an equipment malfunction, as her colleagues had suggested. It was a signal, precise, structured, and utterly alien. The Atacama Large Millimeter Array had first detected it during a routine scan of the Carina Nebula. Unlike the usual cosmic background radiation or pulsar emissions, this signal repeated in a complex but recognizable pattern. It was artificial, deliberately constructed, and most importantly, it wasn't meant for human eyes. Director Matthews needs to see this, Sarah muttered, downloading the latest data analysis. The signal's structure suggested an advanced encryption method, but its carrier wave was unlike anything in human communication protocols. It was as if someone had written a letter in a language humanity had never encountered and accidentally delivered it to Earth's mailbox. Within hours, the observation center transformed into a hive of activity. Scientists from various disciplines crowded around Sarah's workstation, their excited whispers filling the air. The signal's nature became clearer with each passing minute. It was a warning, but not for humanity. The message structure suggests it's meant for a civilization with a different technological basis than ours, Sarah explained to the gathered crowd. The encryption method alone indicates they process information differently than we do. But here's the fascinating part: we can still understand portions of it. Director Matthews, a veteran of SETI programs, leaned forward. "And you're certain this is a warning?" Sarah nodded, pulling up a visualization of the signal's pattern. The repetition and intensity suggest urgency. Whatever this message contains, it's trying to prevent something catastrophic. But the intended recipients, she paused, choosing her words carefully. They're not us. We're essentially reading someone else's mail. The implications of this discovery spread through the scientific community like wildfire. Within days, observatories worldwide confirmed the signal's existence, and governments began taking notice. The United Nations convened an emergency session to discuss this unprecedented situation. As Sarah presented her findings to world leaders, she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity stood at a crossroads. "We have 3 options," she explained, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "We can ignore the warning since it wasn't meant for us. We can attempt to relay it to its intended recipients, assuming we can figure out who they are. Or we can prepare for whatever catastrophe this message is warning about, even though we're not the target." The debate that followed was heated. Some nations advocated for complete non-intervention, arguing that humanity shouldn't meddle in alien affairs. Others pushed for immediate defensive preparations, viewing the intercepted warning as a gift, advance notice of a threat that might affect Earth as well. As weeks passed, Sarah and her team worked tirelessly to decrypt more of the message. Each breakthrough revealed more unsettling details. The warning spoke of a cosmic event, something that would sweep through this arm of the galaxy like a tide of destruction. The intended recipients had apparently chosen to ignore previous warnings, and this was a final attempt to convince them to act. "We're not the target," Sarah reminded her team during a late-night session. "But we're in the same neighborhood. If this threat is real, if it's coming, our civilization's response could determine whether humanity survives or perishes." The signal continued its relentless broadcast, a digital lighthouse warning of approaching storms. But unlike its intended recipients, humanity wasn't about to ignore the message. Something was coming, something terrible enough to prompt an advanced civilization to send encrypted warnings across the stars. As Sarah stared out her office window at the star-filled sky, she couldn't help but smile grimly. Humanity had always been good at defying expectations, at surviving against the odds. They might not be the intended recipients of this cosmic warning, but they would absolutely use this knowledge to their advantage. The question wasn't whether humanity would act, but how. And in the coming months, Earth would show the galaxy exactly what humans could do when faced with a challenge, even one that wasn't meant for them. Marcus Blackwood had spent 15 years breaking impossible codes for the NSA, But nothing had prepared him for this. The alien warning signal defied conventional cryptography. It wasn't just a different language. It was a different way of thinking entirely. "It's like they're painting with mathematics," he explained to Dr. Chen, gesturing at the holographic display of signal patterns floating before them. The International Decryption Team had been working around the clock for 3 months now. Their facility, buried deep within the Rocky Mountains, housed the most powerful quantum computers ever built. Yet even these machines struggled to process the alien mathematics underlying the signal. Marcus had been brought in after conventional decryption methods failed. His unconventional approach to code breaking, combining mathematical analysis with pattern recognition drawn from nature, had earned him both ridicule and respect throughout his career. Now it might be humanity's best hope for understanding what was coming. "Look at this," he said, manipulating the hologram to highlight a recurring sequence. "The signal doesn't just repeat, it evolves. Each iteration contains minute variations, like a living thing adapting to its environment." Sarah leaned closer, her eyes widening as she saw the pattern emerge. "It's not just a warning message," she breathed. "It's a survival manual." The breakthrough came at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Marcus had been staring at the same sequence for hours when something clicked. The alien mathematics wasn't just describing a threat, it was showing how to survive it. "They're not just telling their people to run," he announced to the emergency meeting called an hour later. "They're providing instructions for how to shield themselves from something big." As Marcus and his team decoded more of the signal, a terrifying picture emerged. The threat wasn't a hostile alien invasion or a weapon. It was the galaxy itself. A massive wave of exotic radiation was approaching, one that would fundamentally alter the physics of space-time in its wake. The aliens this message was meant for, Marcus explained to the UN Security Council via a secure video link. "They've evolved to process information differently than us. Their biology, their technology. It all depends on the current physical constants of our region of space." This wave would essentially rewrite those constants. The implications were staggering. While humanity might survive the initial wave, much of their technology would fail. The very laws of physics they relied on would shift, rendering much of their scientific understanding obsolete. "But here's the thing," Marcus continued, a hint of excitement creeping into his voice. "Humans are adaptable. The very fact that we can understand this warning, despite it being meant for a completely different form of life, proves that. We don't just survive change. We thrive on it." The decoded instructions revealed something else, a timeline. The wave would reach Earth's region of space within 5 years. The civilization that had sent the warning had apparently given up trying to stop it, and instead focused on evacuating their space sector. "They're running," Sarah observed, reviewing the decoded data with Marcus. "Their entire civilization is based on the current physical constants. They can't imagine surviving in a universe where those constants change." Marcus nodded, but his eyes gleamed with determination. "That's where they're different from us. Humans have always adapted, always found ways to turn disadvantages into strengths. We're not going to run." The decryption team worked tirelessly to extract every bit of useful information from the signal. The alien mathematics, once understood, opened new avenues of scientific understanding. Humanity might not have been the intended recipients of this warning, but they would use every scrap of knowledge it contained. As Marcus studied the latest decryption results, he couldn't help but smile. The aliens who sent this warning, and those it was meant for, had vastly underestimated humanity's greatest strength, their ability to adapt and overcome. The coming changes might reshape the galaxy, but humanity would be ready. "We're going to need to rewrite every physics textbook," he mused. "But first, we're going to need to rewrite the rules of survival itself." The United Nations General Assembly had never been so quiet. Representatives from every nation sat in tense silence as Dr. Sarah Chen and Marcus Blackwood presented their final analysis of the alien warning signal. The choice they faced would determine the future of human civilization. The physics-altering wave will reach Earth in approximately 5 years, Sarah explained, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. Based on the decoded warning, it will fundamentally change how matter and energy interact in our region of space. The aliens who sent this message believe survival is impossible without evacuation. General Isabel Rodriguez, newly appointed head of Earth's Defense Coalition, stood up. And what makes these aliens so certain that evacuation is the only option? Marcus stepped forward, pulling up a holographic model of the wave's effects. Their civilization evolved in the current physical constants. Their biology, their technology, their entire way of life depends on physics staying exactly as it is now. For them, adaptation isn't an option. But we're not them, Isabel stated, her eyes scanning the assembly. We've reviewed the data. Our scientists believe we might have another option. The murmurs that swept through the assembly grew louder. The third option, neither running nor accepting defeat, was arguably the most human response possible. It was also the most dangerous. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, head of the International Physics Coalition, took the podium. The alien mathematics we've decoded has given us new insights into the fundamental nature of reality. We believe we can use this knowledge not just to survive the wave, but to thrive in its aftermath. The proposal was audacious. Instead of evacuating Earth or accepting doom, humanity would attempt to adapt their entire civilization to function in the new physics. It would require rebuilding their technology from the ground up, even modifying their own biology to better survive in the changed environment. The resources required would be astronomical. China's representative pointed out, every nation would need to commit completely to this effort. The alternative is running away to an unknown part of space, the Russian delegate countered, or waiting for death. Neither option is acceptable. The debate raged for days. Every nation, every scientist, every leader had to weigh in on humanity's response to this existential threat. The world's economy would need to be completely restructured. Every major industry would have to pivot to support the adaptation effort. Sarah watched from the sidelines as humanity faced its greatest decision. The alien warning had been clear. Evacuation was the only logical choice. But humans had never been particularly good at following other species' logic. "We're going to stay and fight, aren't we?" she asked Marcus as they watched the proceedings. He nodded, a slight smile playing at his lips. "It's what we do best." The aliens who sent this warning, and the ones who ignored it, they all think inside their own boxes. But humans, we break boxes. We remake them. We turn them into something new. The final vote was nearly unanimous. Earth would not evacuate. Instead, they would prepare for the wave in their own way. The next 5 years would see the greatest unified effort in human history, a race to remake their civilization into something that could not just survive, but thrive in a changed universe. Teams of scientists began working on new technologies that would function under the altered physics. Medical researchers started developing ways to help human biology adapt to the coming changes. Engineers worldwide collaborated on redesigning everything from power plants to smartphones. "They told us to run," Isabel addressed the assembly after the vote. "They told us survival was impossible, but they don't understand what humanity is capable of. We've faced extinction-level events before, from ice ages to plagues to our own nuclear weapons. Each time, we've emerged stronger." As the assembly concluded, Sarah found herself thinking about the aliens who had sent the warning. They had meant well, trying to save their fellow advanced civilizations, but they had never considered that a seemingly lesser species might find a different way. "We're really doing this," she said to Marcus as they left the UN building. "We're going to defy an alien warning and try to survive something they thought was impossible." He laughed. "Of course we are. It's what humans do best. The impossible." As the sun set over New York, the world began to mobilize. The greatest engineering and scientific challenge in human history was about to begin. They had 5 years to remake their entire civilization, to prepare for a fundamental shift in the laws of physics themselves. But they would face it together, not as separate nations, but as humanity united against a cosmic threat. The alien warning had been meant for another civilization, but its interception had given humanity something precious: time to prepare, to adapt, to survive. The Nevada desert had become an unlikely symbol of human resilience. Where there was once only sand and sparse vegetation, now stood the largest scientific complex ever built. The Global Adaptation Research Center, or GARC, stretched for miles across the landscape, its gleaming structures housing humanity's best hope for survival. Dr. Aisha Rahman stood at the center of GARC's main research hub, surrounded by holographic displays showing real-time data from experiments worldwide. As Chief of Adaptation Technologies, she coordinated the efforts of over 10,000 scientists working to prepare humanity for the coming wave. The quantum shielding tests are showing promising results, she reported to the Global Oversight Committee. We've successfully maintained stable electronic systems under simulated post-wave conditions. 3 years had passed since humanity decided to stand their ground against the cosmic threat. Those years had seen technological advancement at a pace that would have seemed impossible before. The decoded alien mathematics had opened new doors in quantum physics, and human innovation had kicked them wide open. Show them the biological adaptation results, Dr. Chen called from her station. Sarah had transitioned from signal analysis to leading the medical research division, working to prepare the human body for the new physics. Aisha nodded, pulling up new data streams. The holographic displays filled with genetic models and cellular adaptation simulations. We've developed a series of treatments that will help human cells function in the altered physics. The first human trials begin next month. The committee members leaned forward, their faces showing a mixture of concern and hope. These treatments represented something unprecedented: the deliberate evolution of humanity to survive in a changed universe. In another wing of the facility, Marcus Blackwood continued his work with the alien mathematics. What had started as code breaking had evolved into something more profound: a new understanding of reality itself. His team had learned to predict exactly how the wave would alter physical constants, allowing them to design technology that would work in both the current universe and the changed one. It's like learning to write with both hands, he explained to a group of visiting engineers. We're creating hybrid systems that can switch between different physical paradigms. The aliens thought this was impossible because they never considered working with both sets of physics simultaneously. The progress was remarkable, but time was running short. 2 years remained until the wave would reach Earth, and despite their achievements, they were far from ready. Every day brought new challenges, new problems to solve. General Rodriguez, now overseeing the Global Defense Network, called an emergency meeting one evening. "We've detected something interesting," she announced, pulling up long-range sensor data. "The wave isn't uniform. There are patterns within it, patterns that match parts of the alien warning signal." This discovery sparked a new round of innovations. If the wave contained patterns similar to the warning signal, perhaps they could use that knowledge to their advantage. Teams worldwide began developing what they called wave harmonics, technologies that would resonate with the wave itself, using its energy rather than fighting against it. "We're not just adapting to survive the wave anymore," Aisha realized during a late-night research session. "We're learning to surf it." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A young engineer in Mumbai noticed that certain crystalline structures actually became more stable when exposed to simulated wave conditions. This led to the development of transition materials, substances that would become stronger, not weaker, when the wave hit. As the final year of preparation began, humanity's efforts had transformed the globe. Massive adaptation centers have been built on every continent. New power systems, designed to function under both current and future physics, were coming online. The first generation of wave-adapted humans had successfully completed their treatments. "Look at what we've accomplished," Sarah said to Marcus as they toured the latest installation. "The aliens who sent that warning would never believe this was possible." He smiled, watching teams of scientists and engineers working together seamlessly, regardless of their national origins. "That's because they never understood humanity's greatest strength. We don't just adapt to survive, we adapt to thrive. The Global Adaptation Research Center had become more than just a scientific facility. It was a testament to what humanity could achieve when united by a common purpose. They had taken an alien warning meant for another civilization and used it to fuel the greatest technological revolution in human history. As the wave approached, Earth was becoming something new, not just a planet of survivors, but a world of pioneers, ready to embrace a changed universe on their own terms. The aliens had warned of the end of civilization as they knew it. Humanity had responded by building a civilization that could survive anything. The wave arrived on a Tuesday morning. From Earth's surface, it was invisible to the naked eye, but humanity's new sensor networks tracked its approach with perfect clarity. 5 years of preparation had led to this moment, and every person on Earth held their breath as the front edge of the reality-altering phenomenon reached their solar system. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in GARC's Central Command, watching as the wave first touched Pluto. The dwarf planet's automated research stations transmitted a flood of data for several minutes before falling silent. Next came Neptune, then Uranus. Each planet's fall to the wave provided crucial last-minute data for Earth's defenders. All adaptation centers report ready, General Rodriguez announced, her voice steady despite the tension. Global shield network at full power. Transition protocols initiated. They had prepared for this moment, but theory was about to meet reality. As the wave approached Mars, Dr. Aisha Rahman activated the first phase of Earth's defense plan. Across the planet, quantum shield generators hummed to life, creating a protective field designed not to block the wave, but to work with it. Wave harmonics are holding steady, Marcus reported from his station. The math is working exactly as predicted. Better, actually. The wave hit Mars, and for 17 minutes, all contact with the red planet was lost. When signals finally returned, they came through the new quantum communications network, designed to function in the altered physics. The automated Mars bases had survived, their hybrid systems successfully transitioning to the new universal constants. Then was Earth's turn. All citizens, proceed to your designated adaptation centers. The global announcement system broadcasted in every language. Remain calm and follow your preparation protocols. Humanity had refused to run, refused to accept defeat. Instead, they had prepared to ride out the wave of change, to embrace the transformation of their universe. As the wave approached Earth, billions of people entered their shelter pods, their bodies pre-treated to adapt to the new physics. Sarah watched the final countdown with a mixture of fear and excitement. The aliens who had sent the warning had never imagined this response, an entire civilization choosing to surf the wave of change rather than flee from it. The impact was both more and less dramatic than expected. There was no great flash of light, no thunderous roar. Instead, reality itself seemed to shiver like ripples in a pond. The quantum shields flared as they channeled the wave's energy, using its own patterns to protect the structures they covered. For 23 minutes, Earth underwent the greatest transformation in its history. The very constants that governed reality shifted, but humanity was ready. Their hybrid technology maintained power and communications throughout the transition. Their adapted bodies handled the change with remarkable resilience. When the wave passed, Earth emerged into a changed universe. The laws of physics had shifted, just as the warning had predicted. But where other civilizations saw this as an apocalypse, humanity had turned it into an opportunity. The first post-wave readings exceeded all expectations. Not only had their preparations worked, but many of their new technologies actually functioned better in the altered physics. The transition materials they had developed were stronger than ever, and the wave-adapted humans reported enhanced sensory capabilities in the new environment. "We did it," Aisha breathed, looking at the stream of positive reports flowing in from around the world. "We actually did it." But the real surprise came 3 days after the wave passed. Their long-range sensors detected something approaching. Ships of clearly alien design. As they entered the solar system, they'd broadcast a message of astonishment. They were refugees from the civilization that had sent the original warning, coming to see how Earth had survived what they thought was unsurvivable. "Welcome to New Earth," Sarah transmitted back. "We got your warning. We just chose to interpret it differently." The alien vessel's response was filled with a mixture of shock and admiration. They had fled their home systems, expecting to find this region of space uninhabitable. Instead, they found humanity not just surviving, but thriving in the changed physics. In the months that followed, Earth became a beacon for other civilizations struggling to cope with the wave's effects. Human scientists shared their adaptation technologies, their transition materials, their wave harmonics. What had started as a warning of doom had become the catalyst for humanity's emergence as a major galactic power. "They told us to run," Marcus mused, watching alien ships dock at Earth's new orbital stations. "Instead, we rewrote the rules of survival itself." Sarah nodded, looking out at the changed sky. The stars looked different now, their light altered by the new physics, but they were still beautiful. "That's what humans do best," she said. "We take the impossible and make it possible." The alien warning had been meant for another civilization, but humanity had turned it into something more. A chance to prove that adaptability, determination, and courage could overcome any obstacle, even the transformation of reality itself. In defying the warning, they had not just survived. They had shown the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of.